are mine now. You belong to me. Today we're going to play a new fun game.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Twin Peaks podcast. My name is Dan.
Me llamo Nicole.
I should have done hola. I wrote that down as well and I forgot to do hola because it's our Spanish episode and we're going to be talking about Roma and Pan's Labyrinth. Spanish cinema, that's what we're going to call it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we move on to the last section, Stitch Up, where one of us has to watch a terrible film. Last time, Nicole, you lost the Instagram poll and you had to watch Double Dragon with Robert Patrick and some glorious overacting, apparently. And I've watched a little bit of footage of it on YouTube. So
I can't wait to
shared
tell you
some
guys how I thought.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear all about it. Before all that, the first section is called Anything Goes, where we talk about whatever we want. So how have you been, my friend?
Oh, how have I been? I've been really tired this week, especially because I had a family camp over the weekend, and it involved a lot of my attention. But it was good. Yeah. But yeah, I've just been playing catch up regarding camp. That was nice. It was in Phillip Island and it was good to get away.
At least it was different scenery.
Yeah, I can't complain. Over here we're allowed to get out and about. I was speaking to my Spanish mate a couple of weeks ago and he's like, you guys are like, it's like you're in a whole different decade to what we are. Like we're still, very minimal movement kind of thing. I mean, we can't travel outside of Australia technically, but...
Well, Australia is a big place, so you've got a lot of choices.
What about you, mate? What have you been up to?
Oh, I've actually had an action-packed couple of weeks since the last time we recorded, mate. Don't usually have much to report on, but I've got loads. I've got loads this time, so I'm going to try not to bore you to death. I recorded with Radio Gore Press. That episode came out a couple of weeks ago by the time this episode comes out. That went really well. Had a lot of fun with Sarah, Rosie and Phil talking about Creep, the 2014 film Creep, with Mark Duplass. It's a really good film and I had a lot of fun chatting to him about it. So check out that episode. There'll be a link in the description if you want to head over to Radio Gore Press. And maybe we'll get them on Twin Peaks one day. Maybe we've started chatting about it, and maybe that's going to happen. But we've got quite a bit happening on the podcast potentially going forward over the next few months. So I try not to sort of mention things before we've done them, because just in case they go to shit, if the recordings don't work for whatever reason. I don't usually say. You just get a bonus thing.
Everyone just bloody pulls out last minute, eh?
Yeah. And it's difficult. We were talking before about trying to organise all our time zones, because between you and I, you're in Australia, I'm on GMT.
Yeah.
And there's 9 hours difference between us at the moment. So if we want to record remotely with someone, say, in the States, there's like 3 or 4 time zones you've got to potentially contend with. And it's crazy. So
I was going to say, I remember when I was over in New York and then I was in San Fran the next weekend, and when I was in a relationship and I would Skype with my boyfriend at the time, I would stay up till like 2:00 in the morning to chat to him, and in the afternoon I was just like, so the idea of 4 different time zones is going to be interesting. I'll suck it up and
mind blowing, isn't it?
Wake up at 2 a.m. to record a podcast.
Oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not waking up at 2 a.m. I'll still be up, to be fair.
Yeah.
If it's a weekend, I can record at 2 a.m. That's not a problem. Might be a problem for my neighbours when I'm shouting and banging on things when I get annoyed from losing stick-up holes. Oh, but yeah, action-packed week, mate. I had a bit of a fright yesterday because I texted you. My wife, coffee again. My Wi-Fi went down.
Beg your pardon?
My wife went down.
Did you get?
She died. No, I'm not married.
I didn't even know you were married. Bloody hell.
It was a secret shotgun wedding. So my Wi-Fi went down yesterday, and I was worried that it wasn't going to be up and running in time for recording the podcast. And also, I hadn't watched Pan's Labyrinth yet. So I was worried I wasn't going to get to watch that in time, but I did. I managed to squeeze that in. But while my Wi-Fi was off, I thought I'd watch Independence Day because, pick up a Blu-ray. That's one of the reasons why I like physical media, because if for whatever reason we lose connection and no one's got any films, what are we all going to watch? Everyone's going to come to me then, aren't they? Everyone's going to be, Dan, can we borrow your copy of The Negotiator? And I'm going to be like, no. No, you should have thought of that before you relied on streaming and Wi-Fi connection for your movie consumption needs.
With streaming, you can download sometimes as well. You can download these movies.
Well, yes. Yes, you can. You've always got to bring logic to an argument, haven't you?
Yeah, sorry.
You've always got to piss on my strawberries.
Some of the more recent films that I've bought, like Baby Teeth, I've bought that on YouTube, and I've got that's a copy that I've got. I just don't have a physical copy because I don't know, I don't want to waste money on packaging and whatever. Unless it was like some really amazing film that I would just I want extra content and all that, I would be more than happy to buy it.
All right, maybe people will only come to me if they want to watch Howard the Duck. If that's not available, I don't know if you can download that one.
Howard the Duck? What's that?
What? Sorry, what's Howard the Duck? Did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Oh no.
Never mind. So what was I saying? Being busy, mate. Being busy. Have you listened to Movie Drone lately? Have you listened to their latest episode?
Yeah, I did.
Promising Young Woman, I think was their last one, wasn't it?
Oh yes.
Well,
yes.
So they have that section. What's that film? And Mark will do a line from a film, often in a character's voice. And Steve has got to guess what film it is from that line of dialogue, and there's a range of points from 5 to 1. They were doing one. Mark started out with saying "back up," and I got it. I knew what it was as soon as he said "back up." I knew what it was. It was Bad Boys, and the line was "back up, put the gun down, and get me a pack of tropical fruit bubblicious." But I knew, and I so rarely get those right. So I texted them. Right? I messaged them on Twitter.
Oh no!
And I said I was really happy that I got. I said I was really happy that I got this one right. Thank you so much for doing Bad Boys. It's one of the probably 5 films that I would get immediately, just because of the amount of times I've seen them. And Steve said, "Oh, thanks for that, Dan. Do you know what Nicole said?" I was like, "What?"
Oh no!
Nicole said it was the Dukes of Hazzard.
Because they put a reference to Daisy. I was like, this is a Cars film. This is based on amazing cars and stuff. And then I heard the Daisy, that was on number 3. And then the end thing was can I borrow some sugar? I was like, this sounds like a country western. And I was like, this has got to be Dukes of Hazzard. Oh my God. Thanks for making me look like an absolute dick.
That's all right. I got the green light to give you some stick for it, so consider yourself sticked.
I meant to reply to both Mark and Steve, but
you couldn't be bothered
this week, so apologies. I was just I got it wrong. I was just are they taking the piss out of me? Because Mark responded. Because it's Steve does the lines, right, and Mark. Oh no, Mark does the impressions.
Mark does the lines and Steve does the guessing.
That's right. But he does also Mark's mail sack. What does Steve do?
Yeah.
Steve's just,
I don't know.
Steve's just chilling out.
Doesn't do anything, does he?
No.
You don't see the fruits of the labour that goes into editing.
Oh, he edits. Edits.
Yeah. Podcast
that's
episodes
true.
come out and co-hosts just don't know the pain that we go through as hosts and editors. It's painful.
I just need to learn how to use this software. I have edited video and I enjoy doing it. I just don't know how to use the current software that you've got.
I don't mind doing the editing, but I want to moan about it as well. I want to have my cake and eat it. But anyway, what we done? We done new job, yeah.
No, you haven't mentioned the new job.
Yeah, have I not? Have I not mentioned it?
No, you haven't mentioned.
Oh, all right. I got a new job.
What's happened to you?
And I'm very excited, and we can't really talk details about our jobs because we have to sign NDAs. But I'm very excited, and it's going to be long hours, but I'm very excited to get back into it. And I've had a year of the COVID pandemic, just sort of sitting on my. I've not been doing nothing. You know, I've been working on a podcast and stuff, and applying for jobs, and trying to stay healthy and reasonably well exercised and stuff. But it's nice to have a focus again and have a reason to get up every day and leave the house. But obviously, lots of hand sanitizer and tests.
At least you've got a car now to get to work.
Yeah, nice commute in the mornings and the evenings. That'll be lovely. Listen to a few more podcasts, can't I? But it does mean no more waking up on Thursday mornings and watching Independence Day when I'm supposed to be at work. So swings and roundabouts. I know that I'm going to have much less time going forward, so I've been trying to bang in as many films as possible.
I watched. Did you watch the Oscars? Or was that
no?
Should we mention the Oscars? It's going to be very late by the time this comes out.
It's going to be very late. Yeah, it's about a month ago by the time this episode comes out, probably. But
yeah.
Do you know what? It's weird because it's probably the first year that I could have stayed up and watched it and it wouldn't have affected anything. But I completely forgot about it. And I woke up next morning and it was like, Emerald Fennell, Promising Young Woman, Screenplay Oscar. And I was like, oh, sweet. I thought she deserved that. But apart from that, I haven't really seen a lot else. I saw Frances got
she
best
got
best actress again, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins got Best Actor. Nomadland won Best Picture, which I've already seen. Yeah. Usually it's tradition for me to go watch the film that won Best Picture that year. So I've already ticked that box. Judas the Black Messiah. I think they won. I don't know if it was just one Oscar or if they won a couple.
I can't remember. Kaluuya won Best Actor, didn't he? I thought Kaluuya won Best Actor. Or was it supporting actor?
This is the thing. Best Supporting Actor, and I would have thought. Well, I guess he is supporting actor because what's the other guy's name? Sorry to Bother You.
Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah, I would have thought he would technically be the main actor, so he could have got nominated for Best Actor. But they were both in supporting both nominated
like
for
co-leads.
Best Supporting Actor. Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't watch it, mate, and I didn't have that much interest in it. Over the years, my interest in it is slowly dying off. I still like to hear, and I was sort of rooting for Promising Young Woman for Best Picture, but I haven't seen any of the others on the list. I really want to watch The Black Messiah, and I want to watch Nomadland. But
that's coming out on Star, apparently. Well, it is here in Australia.
Yeah, on the Disney
on Disney Plus.
I've been watching mostly what people would consider as bad films last couple of weeks, mate. I watched Super Mario Brothers video game adaptation, which is not a brilliant movie, but it's the most fun I've ever had watching it, just to watch it, because I used to watch it a lot as a kid, and I was watching it thinking, why did I used to watch this all the time? And I think just because it's fucking crazy. There's so much weird shit that goes on in it. There's a king that turns into a fungus, dinosaurs that live in another parallel dimension that have evolved into human-like creatures. They've got dancing lizards and rocket boots, and it's crazy. But it's a lot of fun.
It sounds awesome.
It's really good, mate. But it's not good. That's the thing. It's not good, but it's a really enjoyable bad movie. Okay. I watched Return of the Living Dead, which I don't think I've ever seen it before. The very first one. The original one, yeah. I watched it with Sarah, and it was really good. It was really funny. A lot of fun. Exactly what I hoped and imagined. And afterwards, we watched Reanimator, and that was a first time watch as well. We did a sort of a gore double bill. And that was very interesting. There's again some weird shit that happens in that. It's a H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, and it's pretty crazy. I'm not going to describe what happens in it. Anyone that's seen it probably knows what I'm talking about. But you haven't seen that one, Nicole?
No. Animator? Is that okay? Is it Stitch Up worthy?
No, it's too good for Stitch Up. It's a good film. It's genuinely a good film. So it won't really qualify for Stitch Up. But if I can figure out a way of getting it on one of our picks one day, then I'll do that. Maybe if we do a Jeffrey Combs or Lovecraft double bill or 80s horror. We could do 80s horror. We've done 80s horror before, but we could do it again.
Yeah.
We'll figure out a way. And there's a new film. Again, we record ahead of time, so this would have been a while ago if you're listening to this. But Mortal Kombat came out on HBO Max. And it's not brilliant, but it is a lot of fun. The fights are good and the kills are good. And it's about as enjoyable as the original Mortal Kombat, I think, which I really, really enjoy. There's some weird dialogue in there, and there's some stuff that happens. Like there's zero consequences for the action for some of the heroes, but it's a really fun bad movie. It's not that bad. Like the fighting's quite good.
I was going to say, how many Mortal Kombats have come out now? Is that 3?
Yeah, there's 3 theatrically released films. I think the second one was theatrically released, maybe on a few screens. First one was bad but enjoyable. The second one was just bad, and the third one is again it's an average film but really enjoyable. So 3. Yeah, and I've watched a load of other stuff, mate, but we've been going for a little while now, so I'm going to ask you if you've got anything that you've been watching.
Yeah, I've been watching mainly TV shows this past couple of weeks. You got me onto Pilot Season, who is a fan of our show, I guess. And I've been chatting to them a little bit. And I've just been binge listening to their podcast. So Pilot Season, they review, I think, either 1 or 2 pilots of a TV show every week.
That's right.
And the first episode that I listened to, they were reviewing Mr. Robot and Wellington Paranormal, which I stopped that episode halfway through because I want to watch Wellington Paranormal. Mr. Robot, I kind of want to watch, but I wasn't too fazed of getting spoilers from that. But on that episode, one of the guys was speaking about them, and I was like, I'm not listening to this episode until I watch the TV series. Have you heard of this series? It's on Prime.
Yeah, Sarah's watched this. She watched it a few weeks ago, and I think they spoke about it on Gore Press on one of their Patreon episodes. Sarah, what did Sarah think? I think Sarah quite liked it. I think it was. She said it was quite. Basically, was it about racism? Right, it was about racism but also
it's about this
like horror as well, horror elements.
It's like demons that this family has got in them for things that have happened in the past, horrible things, and they move into this white neighborhood, you could say.
That's right. Isn't it Compton back in the day?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think it's an anthology series, so maybe the next season it'll be a different decade, a different situation, or maybe it's just this series and that's it. It kind of reminds you of what's that movie? Not Us. Who produced Us? What's the first Get Out?
Jordan Peele.
Kind of similar to weird and wacky things that happen in Get Out. Is similar to them, I would say. But it was
a proper high concept weird shit.
Yeah.
Good.
It was good. I think episode 9 was a bit of a random episode. It was like even pre the 50s, they show like what happened in racially in that time, and I was just like, I don't know if this it was kind of necessary but not really in a way. Anyway, give it a watch. I finished Schitt's Creek after I've been watching this for a few months now.
This is there's quite a few of these, isn't there?
There's 6 seasons. They did 6 seasons and they finished I think last year. But they're half an hour episodes, so they're pretty quick and easy. And when I first watched this, I watched like 1 or 2 episodes, and my mates were like, "Oh, Schitt's Creek, it's great. You need to watch it." And I was just like, I'm not really into this." And then you get past episode 3, and then you really start enjoying it, and just like the silly shit that happens within this series. And I watched they have this they've got like a TV special for the last season, so it's called Schitt's Creek. Warm wishes, best regards, and I broke down into tears because the last season is quite heartbreaking at times. I was just like, oh my god. Yeah.
I am not interested in watching this television program
really
at all. Yeah, I've seen people do talk about it and they say it's good, so it's unfair of me to write it off, but it just doesn't look like my sort of thing at all. But I do enjoy Eugene Levy, who plays the dad, I think, because isn't it about a previously rich family that moved to a town that they bought, and they own the town? Is it something like that?
So they become like kind of bankrupt, and the only thing that they have to their name is this town called Schitt's Creek, and they live in 2 motel rooms that, you know, because they own the city. Yeah. And they don't want to fucking be there. They're like, you know, we're going to try and, you know, rebuild business somehow and leave this city. Yeah, each character is really funny. You just fall in love with every single character on this TV show. I wish there was like 1 or 2 more seasons. They ended it at a good time, I think. You know, it's shit when with a TV show when they continue on and it just gets really boring.
Like Neighbours.
Oh, yeah. Fuck, yeah. Neighbours, Home and Away. What do you guys have in the UK?
EastEnders, Emmerdale Farm, and Coronation Street. And I think Hollyoaks is still on. I don't know, mate. They're all awful. They're all terrible. I used to watch, I've told this story many times, but I used to watch all that shit. Well, I didn't watch all that shit. I used to watch EastEnders. And some reality TV stuff as well, like The Only Way is Essex. I'm terribly embarrassed to admit this. But I remember I went on holiday one year, and it was back in the day before you could just watch anything on demand. And I was recording everything on the TiVo box, if you're American. And I got back from holiday, and there was like 15 hours of reality TV recorded, and loads of like 4 hours of EastEnders or whatever. And I just looked at the screen, and I was like, "There's like 17 hours of trash TV there." And I had a real moment in my life, and it felt like a fork in the road. You know, I was like, do I carry on down this path, or do I just delete it all and just never watch any of it ever again? And I deleted it all, and I've never gone back to any of it ever since, because I was like, I can't waste my life watching that shit. So then I started a podcast. Now I waste my life editing.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of like reality TV shows, so last week I stayed at my mate's house. No, I haven't seen Are you talking about RuPaul?
Yeah,
I really want to watch that.
Sarah watches it, so every other weekend I watch it with her.
Yeah, because they're I think they're shooting a season here at the moment, or they've finished the season. Taika Waititi is going to be one of the judges, I think.
No way.
Anyway,
that would be awesome. Yeah, that would be great. I'd definitely watch it. I'd watch it for that.
I was at my mate's house on Thursday night. We got some Colombian food because he's learning Spanish and testing out our Spanish. And I get to his, he was like, "Oh, what do you want to watch?" I was like, "I don't know." He goes, "Oh, you have to watch this really trashy Brazilian show." I'll go, "Yeah, all right, let's put it on." Yeah. And it comes across as like a I guess drama or like a zombie TV show, but it's called Reality Z. It's like Big Brother, but the contestants dress up as Greek goddesses and gods.
Right.
And I think the show's called Olympus and like or like Zeus or whatever, and he is the god. So, you know, this is Big Brother. It's like Zeus talking to you.
Yeah.
And in the first episode, there's this zombie apocalypse. So everyone, you know, gets eaten and becomes zombies. And the contestants inside the house are like, what the fuck's going on? Like, you know, there's no task to do today. and it's just really bizarre, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's just so trashy and so funny, and the acting is like really terrible, but I love it. I'm gonna finish this season. I'll properly review it to you guys in a few weeks.
All right. Well, you do that, mate, and save me having to watch it.
Big Brother started this week as well. I watched the first episode.
I can't believe that program's still on, mate. To be honest, I didn't obviously you have an Australian one, I guess.
It's revived. It was, they got rid of it for a good 10 years, and then all of a sudden, Channel 7, Channel 7's got it back on again, and it's complete. Like, it's the public don't vote them out. It's only the last 3 that are in.
Yeah.
The public get to choose who they want to win.
I've not seen Big Brother in at least 10 years. I can't.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of fascinating when the first season came out. I was having this conversation recently, and when the first season came out, it was, in the UK at least, it was marketed as like an experiment, like a psychological experiment. And they're like, we're putting all these people in a house. It's going to be fascinating to see how all the social interactions work and how they get annoyed with each other. And it was fascinating. You tuned in for that. But then it turned into this whole drama thing. And it was Nasty Nick. And that's how old I am. It was the builder Craig doing home improvement stuff after that. But and then it got very old very quickly. And it's just turned into this whole weird kind of sub-fame sort of thing. Where people just shave their testicles and they suddenly become famous or whatever. I don't know how it works, and they go on Love Island. I think that's the rest prerequisite. I think they have to send in a photograph of a perfectly shaved scrotum, and then they send that into ITV, and ITV are like, "Yes, you can be on Love Island. Let's measure your triceps. How small are your pants?" Nonsense, garbage. Absolute fucking garbage, mate. Garbage.
Who watched Love is Blind again?
All right, mate. It was I don't know. Sometimes you do things that you don't want to do. It's called compromise. But that's the problem with the reality shows. That's why I stay away from them, though, because they get you. They do get you, and they know exactly what they're doing. And that's why I stay away from them, because if I watch 1 or 2 of episodes of a reality show, I'm usually going to get into it and I have to see how it finishes. So I just stay away from it. But I know that it's garbage. And when I'm watching it, I feel horrible about myself. So I don't. I'm like, what are you doing? It's just existential crisis throughout. But anyway, so shall we move on to the Spain bit? We should
move on.
Espanol. We're going to move on to section 2. And as we said before, our theme this week is Spanish cinema. You chose the theme. Last time we chose 2 films. We chose Roma and we chose Pan's Labyrinth. We're going to talk about those in a little bit. But first, because it was your choice of theme, it's your turn to do a topic intro, mate. So I always look forward to this bit because it's always a surprise. We never talk about what we're going to do with each other, do we? So it's always a bit of a surprise.
No.
So I'm fascinated to see what you've got in store, mate.
This is super random, right? Hold on. Let me pick something up from the floor.
Is it a shoe?
No.
Have you lost your shoe? I'm going to do some audio filler.
I haven't lost.
Nicole's lost her shoe. Where is Nicole's shoe? Where's that shoe?
No. It's not called Where's My Shoe? It's called... I'll play it through Google Translate because I might attempt to say this in Spanish, but it is called ¿Cuál es mis estuche de lápiz? The segment is What's in my pencil case?
What's in your pencil case? Is it a Spanish pencil?
Yeah. Well, you never know. So I'm going to pull out an item out of my so-called pencil case that I've got here, and you have to say
a Spanish pencil case?
Item. Yep, totally. So just say this, for example.
Yeah.
How would you say pen in Spanish? So you need to say the word in Spanish.
Right, got it. But I don't speak Spanish.
So that's non parle en español. Well, I thought of the other thing is, so I'm gonna say, como se dice pen in español? So how do you say pen in Spanish? And I'm gonna give you a few options, and then you're gonna guess which is the Spanish word.
Oh, thank God, multiple choice.
Super random. Okay, so we'll start with pen. So the options are bolígrafo, lápiz, or crayon.
The first one.
How do you say that, Dan?
You say it again.
Bolígrafo.
Bolígrafo.
Perfecto. Correct.
Bolígrafo.
Bolígrafo. Lápiz.
Where's that bolígrafo?
¿Dónde es mi bolígrafo? Where is my pen?
Bolígrafo.
Good old Duolingo. The next item that comes out of my pencil case, is a stamp.
Oh no, it's one of those things. Oh no, not a stamp. Fucking hell. This is not an accountancy podcast. Please sign here.
How many we had so many stamps on the last gig. I haven't yet to use a stamp since I've been back on accounts.
Well, hopefully no one from the last job listens to this, because I've got a bag full of stamps from the last job. I got my bag out yesterday. I was like, I knew they would come in handy.
I've got all of my stamps back in the UK at my old flat.
Oh no! I'm going to ring Sylvia and I'm going to meet her in London and nick all your stamps.
She's probably using them. She's like, probably. Oh, this stamp, I've run out of this stamp. Yeah. Anyway, back to the quiz. So, stamp, how do you say it in Spanish? Is it estampia, sello, or marca?
Estampia.
To be fair, these all mean stamp in Spanish, but the one I was looking for is sello, because estampia means like a postage stamp.
Oh, right.
And marca means like to mark, like mark a stamp. And sello is the rubber stamp. Some Spanish person is going to listen to our podcast and be like, no, that's not correct. What are you talking about?
Well, this is coming from Google Translate. Should be directed to Nicole, because this is Nicole's topic intro. I have got nothing to do with this.
All right. What is the next item? I think I put 5 items. Yeah, so we don't have that many items.
Tipex.
What is Le Tipex?
Tipex.
Do I want to know? Tipex. Oh, is that like eraser?
Yeah, white liquid.
White out.
Yeah. White out. Yeah, it's white out, mate.
That's what we call it here. So, it is...
I love how white out is one word in Australia.
So, pair of scissors is the next word. That
you're holding a pair of scissors, okay.
Yeah.
Very small pair of scissors.
So, I was like, oh shit, what is... Yeah, this is... I'm pretty sure this is the... It's like, which one was the Spanish one? I'll have to...
Well, if you don't know, what chance have I got? Fucking hell. You never make these easy for me, do you?
I'm just going to make sure that I'm choosing the right word for the correction.
All right, well, let's do some audio song filler. What songs do we bring to the... We're doing a quiz. It's
giving me a different word to what I had. What? Oh, this is awkward.
Let's just say I'm right.
Correct.
3 out of 3. Yay! Yay!
Yay! Oh no, 2 out of 3. You didn't get the second one right.
I did. You said they were all stamps.
No, but
so if they're all stamps, it's someone that's never even... the only word I know in Spanish is huevo, and you're well aware of that.
Cerveza, por favor.
And beer. Also, I know beer. I know beer and egg. So I can have breakfast and a liquid lunch. That's all right.
I would like beer, breakfast, lunch, and tea. Thank you.
One day I'm going to go to Spain and I'm going to end up with a pint with an egg in it, and I'm going to finish my pint of Guinness. Get to the end, there's an egg in the bottom.
Delicious. The next item out of my pencil case is a globe.
Es globus.
Globus. That's what you always want to come out of your pencil case. You're like, oh,
A globe.
I need to
That
know.
was not.
I need to know.
The peek behind the curtain. I'm just going to call you out right now. That globe was not in your pencil case, was it?
It was totally in my pencil
It was.
case.
How big is your pencil case? What fucking pencil case have you got? That's not a pencil
It's
case.
really
That's a fucking handbag. It's like a satchel.
It's actually it's a chalk bag. It's got my
what?
chalk in it.
Chalk.
A chalk.
You've got a bag just for chalk. You don't keep anything else in it apart from chalk. I've never met anyone in my life that's got a chalk bag. I've never met anyone that owns chalk, let alone enough chalk to necessitate an entire bag full of it.
Mate, when you have a photo booth and, you have one of those boards where you put chalk on it, you need some chalk.
All right,
you need
fair
a
enough.
bag with chalk.
All right, you learn something new every day.
Back to the quiz, guys. How
Es
do you
globas.
say? Call me. Es globas. Oh, lost the globe.
Oh, broken globus. How do you say that in Spanish?
Uh-oh.
You've just knocked Spain off of it, mate. That's what you think of Spain, isn't it?
So, it is globo, sfera, globu.
I'm going to say globosfera.
That's two answers, mate. It's either globo or sfera.
Yeah. Oh, only two. So there's only two options on this then?
There's three options.
You've got to spell this out for me, mate. I'm not that bright. You know this. Globo, sfera, or globo?
Yeah. Which
two
one
of those are the same?
Three? One's got an O at the end and one has got a U at the end.
You are a piss take on these quizzes, mate. I'm going to say option 3.
That is incorrect.
Of course it is.
Globo, the first one with the...
Yeah, the first globo. Yeah.
The first globo.
Not the second globo.
So sfera is how you would say globe in Greek. And global, I think that's the Maltese way of saying globe.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. All languages that I don't know. Oh, you wait till we do French movies, mate. You fucking wait. Tu parles français? No? Okay.
A plant just come out of my pencil case.
Jesus.
So funny.
All right, so have I got to name the type of plant? Have I got to tell you the species in Spanish? All right.
You don't have to say succulent. I don't know how you would say succulent. I should look up how do you say succulent in Spanish.
Well, don't look it up now. We're doing the quiz.
Or do it. So, is it pianta, fito, or planta?
Fito.
That is incorrect.
Of course it is.
It was planta.
It was one of the planters.
It was one of the planters. So we'll say you got 2 out of 5. Not bad.
I would say 3 out of 5.
All right, I'll give you the stamp one.
Yeah, I want the stamp one. I want that one.
So you get 3 out of 5. So at least
I'm over the 50%.
Not bad, mate.
60%.
Yeah.
I'm actually reasonably happy with that, based on a language that I've never spoken a word of, apart from huevo and cerveza. Yeah, like I said, bring on the French quiz. That's all I'm saying. Awesome. Okay, so 6 out of 5. 6 out of 5, 3 out of 5. I'm reasonably happy with that. So thank you for preparing that quiz for us, mate, and pulling some things out of your pencil case. Maybe I'll pull some things out of my drawer, and that can be a quiz. But the reason that we're talking about Spanish stuff is because we watched 2 Spanish movies. We watched Roma, we watched Pan's Labyrinth. I watched Roma first. I usually like to try and start with the film I watched first. So I reckon let's start with Roma. So Roma was one of your 3 picks, and I picked it out of your 3. It was directed by Alfonso Cuarón. It came out in 2018. It's 135 minutes long. The synopsis reads, in 1970s Mexico City, 2 domestic workers help a mother of 4 while her husband is away for an extended period of time. Okay, and now, so bear with me as I try and pronounce people's names here. Do be kind. Yalitza Aparicio plays Cleo, main character. Marina de Tavira plays Sophia. And you know what? I'm going to leave it there because they're the two leads. So Cleo plays like a housekeeper, an employed housekeeper, and she works for Sophia. And Sophia is living in a house with her family, with her husband, who's a doctor, and her children. And Cleo is living on the premises with one other housekeeper. And it's about Cleo. It's Cleo's story. It's quite a small kind of story. It's like a very small, intimate tale of this one person, Cleo, and the things that she goes through. And it's a period piece, so it's kind of set in the 70s as well. And she goes through lots of things. And I guess the first thought that I want to sort of pick up on is, while I was watching it, I was thinking, when's something going to happen? When's something going to happen? And the more it got into the film, for me, the more I was okay with not much happening, because it was more about the context of the story. It was more about that one character and her journey and her experiences. And it's something that I've been meaning to watch for a while. It's not something I was ever going to rush out to watch because I'm lazy. Subtitle films, also it's black and white. I am a bit lazy. It takes me a while to get around to these films. But I thought this was pretty fucking good, mate. And yeah, by the end of it was fantastic. I was sold. It was really, really good. The thing that I kind of appreciated it was kind of like everyday scenarios that within the scenes they said a lot. And the most relevant example I can think of is the car. So the husband had this big car and he's trying to drive it into the garage, and he's being very fucking careful, trying not to ding the walls and stuff, because the car's too big for the garage. Later on in the film, after the husband leaves the family, Sophia drives that car and she gets stuck in between two trucks. And I appreciate it. Like, to me, what that was saying is excess. That car was representing an excess of, too much. You don't need this much, whatever. I could be wrong. I could be looking far too much into it. But that's what it's, that's what it said to me. And I really, really fucking liked that. And I liked the way it kept popping up. And by the end of it, Sophia had sold that car and she gets a smaller car, a more practical car. So that kind of tied into her character arc, because she's not that likable at the start of the film, Sophia, but she sort of comes round to Cleo, doesn't she? Because there's she's a bit stuck up. She's a bit aggressive.
She probably gets that from her husband as well, because he's an absolute asshole. Like
all of the men are in this film. All of the main male characters in this film.
Yeah.
They all screw over the women. The husband leaves without, looks like he's just kind of on a whim, just fucked off, and doesn't really see his kids. And then Cleo, she's dating a dude called Fermin, and they go to a movie theatre. And that's just going off topic slightly, it's the circumstantial thing. So it kind of felt like an everyday experience of Cleo. She was going to the theatre, she was going to this thing, she was doing this thing at work and doing that thing. And we were just kind of along for the ride and just watching her.
Yeah.
But she goes to the movie theatre with Fermin and she tells Fermin that she's pregnant. This is after he's done his naked bow staff demonstration, which I've got down as a note. Naked bow staff demonstration, ? I mean...
Yeah, like he's doing this martial arts...
Yeah.
Trying to show off to Cleo, just after they've had sex or just before they're about to.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh, this is a bit weird.
It's a weird fucking scene,
and then like must have been like a few weeks or a couple months later, they're at the movie theater and she says to him like, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and he goes, "Oh, that's fantastic! Like that's great."
Yeah,
and then next minute he's like, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom." And she was like, well, the movie's about to end, can you just wait? She's like, no, it's okay. I'm just going to go. And you instantly know what he's about to do. He just fucking walks out.
And he doesn't really come back into the film until later on, where she gets his mate to drive her to where he's training, doing his martial arts training. Oh, by the way, have you tried that thing yet in the film with the martial art dude? He said, stand on one leg and touch your fingers and close your eyes. Touch your fingers above your head.
No.
I haven't tried it yet.
Shall we try it now?
I'm going to try it now. Right.
So what are we doing? We have to...
Stand on one leg, close your eyes, and touch your fingers above your head. Listen, mate, I don't know if I'm doing it perfectly. It's not. It's easy. That is easy.
It's easy to do.
All right. Well, there
Dan
we go.
is zen.
Well, I tell you what. Like, there are not many negatives that I can probably find with this film, and I try to be reasonably well balanced with our discussions on these films. But so that's going to go down as a negative. You can stand on one leg, close your eyes, and touch your fingers above your head. But yeah, so Cleo, she goes to see Vermin. We'll just call him Vermin because he was a bit of a twat. And he's just not interested. He's just very aggressive with her and just says, like, look, fuck off, leave me alone. I don't want to know. And so, and also very much.
And also because of her job, he made a comment like, oh, you know, you're just like a fucking housekeeper. You're just like very lower class. And I was just like, when he said that and just like pissed off with his mates, I was just like, fuck me. Like, what an absolute asshole.
Clearly. This would have been a good choice for leading woman, I would say, in that episode that we did.
Absolutely.
But I'm very happy that we actually chose it and I finally got round to watching it. There's a lot that I liked. I liked...
The cinematography?
I mean, it looked great, didn't it?
Because it's just like every scene is like literally one frame. They don't move it. It's like everything is shot within... There's no two cameras going back and forth with certain characters. It's just sat on that one frame that whole time while that person's having that conversation. You know, people's backs towards the camera. And I really like this film based on the cinematography and also the storyline, how this story had come acro's. Did you watch the
colour version? No. I watched the black and white version.
No. No, through the lens of Alfonso, through the director. So, just coincidentally, directly after Roma finished, his documentary about him creating this film came on straight after, and it was in Spanish, which was fine. But it's based on his nanny when he was younger. And 70% of the furniture in this film is from either his family, from his house, or from his family all around Mexico. And he wanted to make this as realistic as his memory in his head was. Yeah. As well as, like, no one knew the script really. He was the only one who knew about it. And he would, like, on every day, he would, like, go to Cleo and be like, okay, this is what you should say. And this is how... and like, just to make it as raw as possible as they could, and it was great. It was really realistic.
It turned out really well. It all just felt very natural to me. And a point I was going to try and touch on was Yelitsa. Her performance was brilliant, and I say that because it was so subtle. Like, she wasn't that kind of emotive. You know, she was very. She kind of felt reserved and subtle is just a word I keep coming back to, you know. But you could see there's a scene in the hospital where she's looking at the newborn babies, where she's I was going to say when she's being diagnosed as pregnant, but that's not the right term, is it? Where she's been, you know, she's getting tested for pregnancy and stuff. But there's an earthquake in that scene, and I wonder, like you mentioned about. The actors didn't know each day what was going to happen, and I wonder if she knew that was going to happen at that point. I don't know how they did it on set, whether they just shook the camera and stuff or whatever. But like during the earthquake, it was just a very subtle, like it was just a nice scene because the earthquake kind of said to me like her whole world was being shaken up, but the look on her face was very subtle. Yeah, and it clued me into her character. I was always very invested in what she was going to do next, because she was just put through so many struggles and put through the ringer so much. but she just kept going. And I thought it was quite an inspiring tale, actually. And for me, the best scene was at the very end of the film with the beach, because she eventually loses her baby, doesn't she, after that scene with Vermin on the football field.
That's a real heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, right. And I was proper tense during that beach scene, like really like on the edge of my seat. It was so, because I've been ramped up so much by that point. And I say, like at the start of the film, I was kind of like, oh, where's this going? I don't really know what's going on. Is this going to do anything interesting? Like, it looked great, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't that invested in stuff. And the further it got on, the more okay I was with it being just about this one character. And then when it got to the very end with the stuff on the beach, I was like, fucking hell, I'm all in here. And I was just wondering how it was going to end. And I'm not, as you know, mate, I'm not a huge fan of children. So I was a lot more tense during that scene than I thought I would have been. You know, I wanted her to save the kids, which is surprising because, you know, normally I wouldn't be that invested in saving children from drowning. But it was very fucking powerful stuff, mate. And that's a phrase I keep coming to. Very powerful by the end of it. And then she just she unleashes. She saves the kids. She gets back on the beach and she says, she admits to having not wanted the baby after she's lost it. And Sophia and the family, they comfort her and, you know, they say, we all love you. And it was really good, mate. It was a really good, powerful little story. Intimate, but big as well, if you know what I mean, at the same time.
And also, Yalitza, that was her first ever time acting. I think they kind of like...
Yeah.
They wanted, you know, the director wanted to get someone... He wanted very few actors on set, and they weren't. Like, some doctors were actual doctors. Yeah. They made it as realistic as they could. Even that scene after she comes out of the cinema, like, that's just all local people that they got as extras, and he
wanted authenticity, didn't he? That's definitely what he was going for. He wanted to be feel as natural as possible, to almost feel like you're kind of a fly on the wall, and it worked. It worked brilliantly. And you mentioned the camera movements earlier, and I liked that they had a lot of stuff going on in the backgrounds of scenes, like with the marching band. And I remember there was a scene where the kids are playing, you know, like so the camera would be concentrating on Cleo and her conversation with somebody, and then the camera would whip round to some kids that are currently playing in the alleyway. It was done brilliantly, and it's not, like I say, it's not something that I would rush out to watch, but I'm so glad that I made the time to sit down and watch it, because it was really, really good. It's kind of a film that I want to, not that I want to shit on it at all, but it's kind of like, on the surface of it, I think, oh, that's probably a bit pretentious, I'm not really interested in that. But actually, when I sit down and watch it, I'm like, oh, actually, I can see what everybody is loving about this film. So I'm really glad that I got around to it in the end, mate. And unless you've got anything else to say, I think I'm going to give it a score.
No, that's it. That's it. What do you think?
I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It was really, really, really good. And it was powerful in a way that crept up on me. And it surprised me at how much or how engaged with it that I was. I will watch it again at some point. After having found out that the actors didn't have any of the scripts, I want to watch those scenes, particularly the last scene on the beach, with the knowledge that they didn't know what was going to happen that day. So I do want to watch it again. But aside from that, I don't think it's going to be something that I can watch over and over again, which is what I reserve my 9s and my 10s for. So 8.5.
I would highly recommend watching the documentary as well of how this movie came together. When you do watch it again, you know, another thing before I say my score, I was interested to hear, like, why is it called Roma? And I was like, you know, Roma is an Italian city, but there's also a city in Mexico called Roma, and I think that's where the director either was from or from a city close by. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 because cinematography, the acting, the storyline, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. and it's definitely something that I want to revisit again. And I've been wanting to watch this film for quite some time, but I've been holding off purely because I thought we would be reviewing it on the podcast, which we did. So it's great.
Which we did. Yeah, we got round to it. So good. Successful. Really good film, mate. I'm really happy that we chose it. So speaking of Alfonso Cuarón, that dude also was a producer on Pan's Labyrinth, as I found out while I was doing research and my final write-up for my notes. So Pan's Labyrinth was the second film that we chose. This was on my list, and you chose it from my three. It came out in 2006. It was directed by Guillermo del Toro. The tagline reads, "What happens when make-believe believes it's real?" And the synopsis reads, "Living with a tyrannical stepfather in a new home with her pregnant mother, 10-year-old Ophelia feels alone until she explores a decaying labyrinth guarded by a mysterious faun who claims to know her destiny. If she wishes to return to her real father, Ophelia must complete 3 terrifying tasks." It stars Ivana Baquero as Ophelia, Maribel Verdú as Mercedes, Sergi Lopez as Captain Vidal, and Doug Jones as the Faun. He's also the Pale Man. I didn't know that. He played 2 roles. He was the Faun and the weird hand eyeball.
The hand guy, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. The budget was 19 million and the box office was 87 million. Did quite well.
Shit.
Yes, and it is in French. It's French. It is in Spanish. I watched it with English subtitles. Did you watch it with subtitles or off?
Yeah, I watched it with subtitles and I watched it in Spanish. Was it in English for you? No.
No, it was in Spanish with English subs. But Guillermo was offered, apparently, I got this fact from Movie Drone because I listened to their Pan's Labyrinth episode before we recorded. But Guillermo was offered some extra money to make it in English, but he said, "No, thank you. I'll make it in Spanish with Spanish actors and in Spanish language." And yeah, I'm glad that he did. I think it would have been a waste of money if he had made it in English. And for me, as someone that doesn't speak the language, not least because it just adds to that feeling of kind of other world to me, this fantasy world. But yeah, so it's set in Spain in 1944, and it's kind of an alternate timeline movie because the Spanish Civil War, in real life, it finished in 1939. It ran from 1936 to 1939. But in this, the fascists won, I guess, and it's 1944, and that's what they say in the film anyway. And it's kind of set between this real world of a struggling household with kind of really fascist, militaristic figures, and that's kind of mixed in with some fantasy world stuff. And it does kind of bounce between those two worlds quite nicely. But it's all about Ophelia and Ophelia's story and her kind of relationship with this labyrinth, this weird labyrinth. It's a film that has been on my radar for the longest time to watch. Many people have said that I should watch it. Everyone that I have spoken to has said it's really, really good. And I wonder if maybe it was a little bit
underwhelming.
Yeah, I wonder if it was blown up a little bit too much for me, if I was expecting too much from it. Because, yeah, you're right, I was a little bit underwhelmed while I watched it, mate. I'll be honest with you. I was looking forward to this crazy film that I've never seen anything like before and be sucked into this world. And I was a little bit. Like, I really appreciated all of the fantasy stuff. All of the stuff that's happening to the characters in the real world is fucking brutal and nasty.
Yeah.
And it is really well contrasted with the stuff that's going on in the fantasy world. But I don't know, just something about it just didn't... I wasn't hooked by it, like, emotionally. Like, I can say to you, I watched Roma, and for some reason, I just got emotionally invested in it. I didn't have that same experience with this film, and I did feel quite removed from it. It was very beautiful.
Yeah.
It was very beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
The first time so this isn't the second time I've seen this film. Yeah. The first time I watched it, because Meech recommended it to me.
Good old Meech.
Good old Meech recommended it to both of us, and I watched it. And I was a bit like, weirded out. I was just like, oh, I don't know what I think of this film. Watching it a second time, I got to enjoy it a lot more.
Okay.
And then I was thinking as I was watching this film, like, what would this remind me of? I was like, oh yeah, it's got Shape of Water vibes. Not that I've watched it, but it's the same director,
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that makes complete sense.
And also the same director as Pacific Rim.
Get Out of Town.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? He got roped into doing that.
It's funny because I can't think of a single Guillermo del Toro film that I love. I like a lot of his films, but I don't love them. And Pan's Labyrinth falls into the same bracket for me as people are going to fucking hate me. But I enjoyed Pan's Labyrinth as much as I enjoy Pacific Rim. like there's more to appreciate in it. Like I enjoy Pacific Rim more, but there's more to appreciate in Pan's Labyrinth. I mean, the most obvious thing to me is the creature design. It was fantastic. The fawn, and particularly the pale man, the eyeball handy dude.
Yeah.
Those
took
creatures
5 hours to get
brilliant.
into that outfit.
I thought it would have been more, to be quite frank. I thought it would have been more. Okay.
The interesting part of that costume as well is so for him to look out of his to be able to see, he had to see through his nostrils, which was
they put his nose on his eyeballs.
I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh god, that was very method, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh god, I would feel so claustrophobic in a costume like that, or prosthetics, whatever you would call it.
You've got to take your hat off to those people that do that, because it was Doug Jones in those costumes, and he's famous for that. He also was the monster in Shape of Water, incidentally, and he was Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movies, which also is Guillermo del Toro. And he works with Del Toro quite a lot, and he's kind of known for that. Doug Jones is the costume guy. I think I saw an interview with him, and at that time he had said that over half of his roles had been in a costume. So he's kind of that guy. If you need someone in a costume, people are like, call Doug Jones. I bet he gets fucking sick of it, though. I bet he wishes that he could just do an on-screen.
Well, he must get paid a lot of money to be in those costumes as well.
Well, yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't really know how it works. So, I hope so. I hope he gets very well compensated, but it doesn't always work like that, does it? So the creature stuff was absolutely brilliant. Like, it was pretty breathtaking. I've not seen anything like it. A lot of practical stuff. Imagination was like the imagination that was applied to some of the scenes and some of the costume design was incredible. Like, the art department did a really good job. And I sort of felt Cenobite vibes from Hellraiser. It felt very Hellraiser, sort of Nightbreed to me. And very sort of classical painting vibes as well. So it looked beautiful. Like, I could watch it with the sound off and just have it on the background and just look at it every now and again and be like, oh yeah, that's another incredibly good looking scene. I just wasn't engaged that much with the story, and it was, I don't know really why, because it was a very real story, I guess, about struggle with this fascist regime and dealing with the consequences of the actions of really one sort of horrible dude who was awful. It was an awful,
the captain
man, who got his comeuppance in the end. Yeah. But he did some awful shit, and he caved someone's face in with the barrel of a gun, and he killed Ophelia in the end, didn't he? So he killed the kid, the main character of
his
the film.
Stepdaughter.
Yeah, right. I forgot that as well. He was also his stepdaughter, and so he gets a bullet to the head.
Yeah, which he didn't really give a shit. All he cared about is because Ophelia's mum was pregnant with his son, and that's all he cared about, is that he had a male offspring, and that's it. If her mum died, so be it. And she did. She ended up dying at during childbirth. The scene before she has the baby. So there's this. I guess it would almost look like a turnip. This turnip creature
parsnip.
that
Looks like a parsnip to me.
parsnip. Oh yeah, parsnip. Just so this labyrinth says, if your mum's not well, so put this creature in milk with a bit of, give a bit of your blood every day, and your mum will be safe. And Ophelia goes under the bed just before her mum is about to go into labour, and her stepdad catches her out and pulls her out of the bed, under the bed, and it's like, what is this thing? And tells his wife to be like, oh, she shouldn't be playing games. This is milk and veggies rotting underneath under the bed kind of thing. And she goes, you need to grow up kind of thing. You need to grow up. Life is not fairy tales. And then she throws this creature into the fire, and it starts screeching. And as that happens, she goes into labor, and she ends up dying from childbirth. Two films regarding that topic.
Well, yeah, death in childbirth. One was a baby, and one was the child bearer. Very, very. I would say this one was a lot darker than Roma, because I feel like Roma kind of ended on a positive, because, not to go back to the Roma review, but Roma ended on a positive because I feel like she was kind of accepting her grief and getting over it, and she, by the end of the film, you're like, okay, she's
and a good family network as well.
Yeah, exactly, and she's got support around her. But in this one, the ending is the child is dead. So it was very dark.
She's dead, but she's also kind of reunited with her mum and dad in this moon kingdom thing.
See, this is where I wouldn't say have a problem with the film, because it's a very beautifully made film, but just my own grievances are, I really, like, it kind of ends, so the kid dies, and supposedly she's rejoined the kingdom, and she's now this the head of this royal kingdom thing in the afterlife, I presume. But it's not really, is it? It's fantasy, and she's dead. So, like, it kind of ends like it's all a dream. So I know it's not really that. I know it's kind of it kind of finishes with some ambiguity, and it's kind of like, is it fantasy? What, is this part real? Was it fantasy? And it's kind of purposely left up to us as an audience to decide. But in my head, there's not really anything to decide. It's just a fantasy, and she's dead. And I don't love films that end that way. I have a problem. I say problem again. Another film that I really appreciate. It looks great. Inception. I love it. I think it looks brilliant. The action is really well done, and it's really enjoyable. But it gets to the end, it's like, oh, was it all a dream or wasn't it? I was like, I was just a bit like, it's just a bit of a Dallas ending, isn't it?
Is that what happens in Inception?
Yeah, well, it got the totem, and it wobbles a bit, and it's like, is it real or was it all a dream? And I kind of feel a similar way about this as I do about Inception. And I know they're completely different films, but they kind of are both mixed in a dream stroke fantasy world, and they both end a bit ambiguously. And I don't know why. I just kept thinking of Inception while I was watching this film, or particularly when I got to the end of it. Anyway, so I thought it was all right. This film, I thought it was pretty good, but I don't think I'm going to be revisiting it again anytime soon. Maybe I would enjoy it more on a rewatch. It does feel like a film to me that might improve with another watch. Now that I know what I'm getting.
What was the other film that I could have chosen?
El Mariachi.
Yeah.
Mate, that's a good one.
You've seen that film. I chose this film purely because you hadn't seen it.
Yeah, I did want to watch it. I was keen to watch it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one, like, as a quote unquote film fan, I feel like it's one that I need to watch, it's the film that everyone rates. It just wasn't quite for me. Like, I can appreciate stuff in it and I can see what people like, but just mixed with the fantasy stuff and the dream, ambiguity stuff, I'm just not a fan of that stuff in general. So it kind of it balanced out for me to be. I'm going to give it a 7.5 because it is a really well made film, and it's just not for me. But I can appreciate it. You know, I am definitely in the minority, and I can accept that.
I would give it the same. I would give it a 7.5.
Would you?
No, it's not. It's not at all. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. As I said, the first time I watched it, I was a bit like, oh,
what would you have scored it after your first watch then? As it changed, would your score have changed, do you think?
Probably like a 7 or a little bit under a 7.
Yeah.
Because I was a bit like cinematically and like the fantasy stuff is really beautiful. It's not something that I would want to watch over and over again. Roma, I would want to watch and would highly recommend.
I'd sooner watch Roma again than Pan's Labyrinth for sure.
Agree.
But overall, a strong week.
Very strong week.
Very strong week.
And a strong international film as well.
And strong international films. We've done international films 2 episodes on the bounce now. We did Lady Vengeance, and now we've just done a couple of Spanish language films. So I'm looking forward to getting back to a bit more trash stuff, mate, with some English speaking stuff. I'm going to have a bit of a break from subtitles. Speaking of trash, we need to move on to Stitch Up. Oh no, before we do that, we need to announce what's going to be our next theme, actually, don't we? I forgot about that.
Back to you, mate.
Back to me, yeah. Theme tennis. So it's back to me. So the next theme, in the next episode, we're going to be choosing 2 coming-of-age movies. And I can't believe we haven't done this topic before. There's a lot of really good coming-of-age films. I bet there's a lot of really bad ones as well. But there are a lot of good ones, and there's a lot from my childhood that I really want to put on my list. But I'm probably not going to get to put a lot of them on because not all of them are available on streaming and stuff for both of us. So that's always a little bit of a fly in the ointment. But we'll mention them anyway. So next episode,
cool.
We're doing coming of age picks. So tune in next week to hear what we choose. But as I was saying, speaking of trash, Section 3 Stitch Up, you lost the poll. And you had to watch Double Dragon, mate, which is a computer game movie which came out in 1994. And it's got Scott Wolf in it and Mark Dacascos. And I didn't know this. I didn't realise this. And then when you sent me a picture on WhatsApp of him, a video, you sent me a video, didn't you? You sent me a couple of videos.
I sent you 2 videos, yeah. Oh, you did, God.
And I watched them, and it looked great. And I watched there's a YouTube channel I watch called Double Toasted, and they sometimes do bad movie reviews, and it's really good. It's really funny. You should watch it. Check them out if you don't know about them already. But they did Double Dragon, so I watched they did like a 40-minute review, and I watched that just before we started recording. So I'm interested to see what kind of points you pick up on, mate. But yeah, over to you, mate, for Double Dragon. What glorious nuggets have you got for us for Double Dragon? Was it good?
I have to say, I would love to thank everyone who voted for me to watch this film because it was fucking awesome for a Stitch Up film. I thought this was brilliant. Okay, so Double Dragon came out in 1994, directed by James Kitch. And the tagline is Power, Justice, Darkness, Light. That's a bit of a poor tagline. And you said this is a video game. So have you played this video game?
Yeah, the video game came out in 1987. And
right.
I played it. I can't remember what console would it have been, 87. So it probably would have been when I had a Master System, so a Sega Master System. But yeah, I played it back in the day, mate. I loved it. Fucking Double Dragon, me.
So is the video game based on trying to get this medallion and gaining all this power?
I think so. I don't remember. All I really remember from the video, because I was quite young. I was definitely younger than 10. I was probably about 6 or 7 when I played it. But I just really remember it was just a side scroller kind of beat 'em up. And there's always gangs hanging around, like at the sides of walls, and you'd approach them, and then they'd just come out, and you'd just have a bit of a fight with them. And sometimes you could pick up a bottle and smash it over their head. But I think that's really as far as the games went. I don't remember any medallion stuff in it, but that's not to say that wasn't present in the games.
Yeah. So this movie starts. They're in like this ancient, rural town. and where part one medallion is, and this gang goes in and starts killing everyone trying to find this medallion. They finally get the medallion, and he knows how to gain the power, so he instantly has got half the power, and with his power he can kind of warp into other people and pretend to be other people. And the other medallion is with the two brothers and I think it's their aunt, and she's taught them how to do martial arts and stuff. And they go to a martial arts tournament, and they're trying to win some money, and they end up losing. Yeah. And there's a curfew thing as well. So if they're out after a certain time, the bad gangs and clown people come out, and it's not safe. Yeah. You're only safe during the day. And the whole point of this movie is this gang trying to get this medallion off them.
It's set in a post-apocalyptic Los Angeles, isn't it? In the far future of 2007. And also, I kind of got. Have you ever seen RoboCop, Nicole? This is a question for you. Have you watched the Oh, for fuck's sake! No. Yeah, you've got to watch RoboCop one day. I'm almost tempted to say, wait until you're in the country, and I will show it to you. We'll go and watch it at the Prince Charles or something if it's showing. Because you need to see it.
I can wait to watch this film.
But there are a few adverts, I think, in Double Dragon, and it was kind of like in RoboCop. They had a similar thing. Like it's a Verhoeven trait, really. Kind of, he has fake adverts within his films that kind of highlights some of the crazy shit that's going on, and it's kind of satirizes real world stuff. And it felt like they were kind of going for that in this, with some kind of like news anchor kind of cutscenes and things like that. But I don't know if it worked or not. I mean, you tell me. You're the one that watched it.
It was a lot of fun, and just like the acting wasn't great. The few lines that they had, they're like, "Oh, the other medallion is somewhere else where they will never find it," and one of the brothers like, "In his underpants" or something. I was just laughing at just the silly lines.
Well, it feels more like an issue with the script than maybe the actors. Those two guys, they're good. Like they've been doing it a long time nowadays. Like they was just starting out back then, but I think
there were some really good actors in this film. Like Robert Patrick's in it. Alicia Milano's in it. Yeah, there's some well-known actors in this film. But yeah, on Letterboxd it says 1.9. I don't think it deserves 1.9.
You think it deserves more than that or less?
I think it deserves more than that. It's just, if you want to like have a bit of fun, this is like by far the best stitch-up film I've had to watch. Okay, I'll give this like a 5.
Oh my God.
Out of 10.
That's almost a failure on my part, because it sounds like you enjoyed it.
I know, it is.
So it's just silly then. It's just silly old shit, is it? Because
it's really silly.
I saw, the dialogue looked pretty bad to me, like some of the action stuff. There was a boat that crashed into a sign, and then the sign exploded for some reason. And I fucking love shit like that. So it sounds like it's one that I probably might enjoy as well. So I'm almost, if you give it a 5, I'm probably going to give it like an 8 out of 10.
I was almost tempted to give it like a 7, as like a 7 for a stitch-up film. Yeah, because it's actually quality. It's really funny. Wow. So yeah, there's a lot of fighting scenes. The different gangs.
A gang of postmen.
Yeah. In the end, they're trying to, so that the brothers have this medallion, but they don't know how to actually use it, and they finally learn how to use it, and they start fighting Robert Patrick's character, but they end up getting the medallion and being successful. And then
their suits.
What happens is one of the brothers goes into his body and writes a check to the city council, so the city becomes a lot better and get rid of all the crime, and it's more safer. Oh, that's right. He's in the body, and he says that, and he goes, and you're going to give us his money, and what do you get out of it? And he goes, arrest me So they arrest him, and then he warps out of his body, and he's like, no! And it ends like that. I think they end up getting a new futuristic car, and they go off into the wilderness. Like a, what's that, Back to the Future style car. That's what the cars are like. Similar to like a lot of Back to the Future. And how they fuel the cars is with like rubbish. So throwing, paper and maps. And I think
This sounds fucking crazy.
You should watch this, mate. I recommend this film. 100% recommend this film. Watch it.
Well, I'm sold, mate. I'm sold. Double Dragon. Here we go. I know what I'm doing after the podcast.
And that's it.
Awesome. All right, mate. Well, thank you very much for watching Double Dragon. That does mean that we have to move on. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thanks everyone for voting for Nicole to watch Double Dragon. But we've got to move on to the next part now, where we find out who's going to be watching the next Stitch Up. As we said in the last episode, we're now doing all of our polls on our Instagram page, but we're still taking it in turns to put them on, and you put this one on. So you chose for me to watch
Hobgoblins,
and I chose for you Avalanche Sharks. So how did the poll go, mate? How many votes did we get? I suppose, as a starting point, I'm going to say that the current scores are: you've watched 17 Stitch Up films, and I've watched 16. So I'm winning.
So I'm winning.
At the moment.
I'm winning, right? That means I've watched more.
No. You can't put a spin on this one, mate. You're losing. You've watched more terrible films than I have by one. So tell us, Hobgoblins versus Avalanche Sharks for you. What was the result, mate?
Well, we both can see who is winning on the poll. And I looked at it and I was like, I'm not even going to bother voting because it was 6-1. Thanks to Pilot Season for voting for Dan, but everyone else voted for me.
Pilot Season was the one vote for me. I saw
my housemate voted for me. She probably thought that means that I don't have to watch the film, you have to watch the film.
I disagree. I think she just wanted to vote for you to watch the Avalanche Sharks, mate. It's funny because when I voted, I went on and it said, 100% Nicole. And I was like, what? And 4 people had voted and they'd all voted for you at that point. And I didn't check it again after that. So, well, at least someone voted for me. So you've got to watch Avalanche Sharks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Looks all right. Might be a bit of fun. Might be it might be a great Stitch-Up film 2 weeks in a row.
Maybe. I hope not. I really hope not. I hope it's terrible and I hope you hate it and I hope it's crap. I've only seen the poster. I don't know much about it because it was a bit of a last-minute decision last time because in the last time we were choosing films, I was going to choose Thunder Force for you, but you'd already watched it. So
that's right.
I could have chosen it for you again, but then you could have gotten away with just not watching it and say you had. So I sort of scrambled the last minute and I came up with that. But great. So next Stitch Up then, in episode 76, you are going to be reviewing Avalanche Sharks. Should we find out what we're going to choose for each other for the next poll?
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to choose for you. I've got something ready to go.
Go on.
We mentioned it earlier. It's a film that it looks like you hadn't heard of it. I love this film in the way that I love Super Mario Brothers because it's a film that I watched on repeat when I was a kid. And I think it's brilliant. But apparently everyone else thinks it's terrible. Howard the Duck. That's my choice for you for this week's Stitch Up poll. And if you lose, I'm going to watch it anyway because I really like it. And I want to talk to you about it. What are you going to choose for me?
I'm not doing monsters and silly films this week. I'm going to go The Barbie Diaries.
The Barbie Diaries. Is this a proper film? Is it a full-length film?
Yeah, it goes for 70 minutes. It's pretty short. I remember looking up a bunch of Barbie films for you because I know how much you love Barbie. Well, especially when Margot Robbie plays Barbie.
I was just about to say, isn't Margot Robbie going to be playing Barbie? Well, I'm all in for that one.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if I happen to lose that poll and I can't find Barbie Diaries, I'm going to quite happily watch Howard the Duck. So we'll see how that goes. But that poll, if you would like to vote on that poll for Nicole to watch Howard the Duck, you can do at Twin Peaks Pod on Instagram. If you want to catch up with us on Twitter, you can do also at Twin Peaks Pod. If you want to catch up with me on Instagram, I'm at flick.face. If you want to email us, you can do at twinpeakspod@gmail.com. And if you want to support the show, the best thing you can do if you want to support the show for free is obviously download and listen to our episodes. Share it with a friend. There might be an episode that you think, oh, my mate really likes prison movies. Let's send them a link to the prison movies episode.
Write a review, guys. Write a review.
Write a 5-star review only, not a 0-star review, because that's probably bad. Just write a 5-star review and say that it's brilliant. It's the best thing you've ever heard. And it's the only movie podcast you ever listen to. But yeah, no, all jokes aside.
Best thing since sliced bread.
Best thing since sliced bread. No, but the best thing you can do is share our show with your mates and leave us a review if you can, if you've got the time. If you've got a spare few quid and you want to buy us a coffee, you can do at ko-fi.com/twinpixpodcast. What about you, mate? Have you got any socials that you want to share with the listeners?
You can find me on Instagram at Chikanika or Nika Creative.
Awesome. We did it, mate. We did it. We did Spanish picks. We spoke about Roma. We spoke about Pan's Labyrinth. You spoke about Double Dragon and you fucking loved a Stitch Up for once, which is very disappointing. But we did it.
We figured out what was in my pencil case.
And we sussed out what was in your pencil case. Yeah, so if you made it this far, thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to tune in next week to our Coming of Age Picks episode. So we'll catch up with you then. I don't know how to say goodbye in Spanish, so you say it.
Buenas noches, buenos dias.
Chuck Norris.
Good night, Chuck Norris.
Goodbye, Chuck.